All right. Welcome, family, to the Empower Hour. I am Al Kumar,
I am Hanifa.
and we're coming to you live as we always do each and every Monday evening here on the Empower Hour, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight's topic of discussion is going to be on peaceful co parenting.
Peaceful co-parenting. Yeah.
So,
Definitely
yeah.
a hot one,
Mhm.
but definitely possible.
Yeah, so I was excited to get the title from Hanifa when she shot it out to me. I was like, "Ooh, this should be a real good discussion."
Yeah.
Here we are, family. As always, we ask that you share the information um, with everybody on your stream. Get folks in on the discussion. Spread it far and wide, please.
Yes,
Hanifa, did you want to get up?
I'm actually doing that right now.
Mhm.
So when you see my head down, that's all I'm doing.
Yeah, same here, family. So we forgive us if we're like, you know what I'm saying, not like focus zoomed right in on you immediately, but the goal is to get as many participants as possible. So we are on our phones
Yes,
sharing this live stream, as we hope you are too at this moment.
because we want to definitely have, let me turn on my phone. We want to definitely have a conversation
Mhm.
about this. This is an ongoing conversation. There is no easy fix. There is no overnight fix. It is a process that requires all of us, the entire community to constantly work on, because it is possible. The narrative that it is not, we have to begin to change that, one co-parenting relationship at a time.
Right.
So definitely wanted to talk about that today.
I wonder why it doesn't come up. Oh shoot, no. I wonder why it doesn't come up. Let me edit the post.
On what?
Um, the title.
Oh, I think it's
Yeah.
right. I can't even tell you. I have to literally be looking at it to tell you exactly why. Because I noticed that too. I think it has to go in one. It's two things they tell you to fill in. I think one of them is where you'll be able to see it. Yeah, I think so.
Well, Hanifa, why is this topic so near and dear to your own heart?
Well, I mean, I'm a divorcee. I have been married and divorced, and I am currently co-parenting my 9-year-old son. And for a long time, I thought that the way that we co-parent is how everyone co-parents.
Mhm.
It's only as I start to really pay attention and think back, even, because I have always known people who have been in relationships that end up being broken, whether it be marriage or just a long-term relationship. And just the conflict and the friction that has always been present in those relationships. And because a lot of people will say to me, my ex-husband and I, that we have something really peculiar. And I was just like, not really, until I begin to really think about what they were saying, and realize that we do have a peculiar situation. I don't like that we have a peculiar situation. I wish what we have for everyone. Okay. I know that it's possible. I also realize that um, it just takes work. It just takes work. Even with us, I mean, Sam is what, 9? I think maybe, what is that, maybe 6, 7 years into co-parenting him.
Mhm.
And sometimes I still have to kind of like refresh on some things.
Mhm.
I still get frustrated. I still get annoyed. I still yell sometimes. We go back and forth sometimes, but you will never find us disrespecting each other. not to each other or outside of ourselves. You will never find that happening. There's a mutual respect that's there, even though like he might say I'm gonna hang up, I might say I'm gonna hang up, or we might say it real fast and hang up. There's a mutual respect. So for me, I'm really passionate about this particular topic because I understand the psychological effect on it on our children. And if it is affecting our children, then it is affecting our community because our children become adults who now have to do relationship. And it's no guarantee that their relationships will last. So what does that look like? Who are they showing up as? Are they showing up as you who couldn't get along with their father or their mother? Or are they showing up as a healthy individual who realize, hey, this didn't work, but we still have an obligation to this investment, which is the child.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Um, what comes to mind is harmony brings peace.
Mm-hmm.
Per the topic of this discussion, peaceful co-parenting.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in harmony, naturally, in a natural setting, that is going to bring on a peaceful alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly there's something disrupted. Something, the harmony, the balance is off. If there's always stress and strife and bickering and fighting, and you know what I'm saying? There's no one accord. And it, like you said, it does not have to be. It really does not have to be. I think it's just that we don't have the proper tools to go by, and then what happens is we watch, people in our own family structure. Say hi, ZZ.
Hi.
That's my grandbaby, y'all. So sit back, baby girl. Let me talk, okay? Let mama work. Okay? Okay. Thank you. So we watch how it transpires in our own family structure and people close to us, friends, things like that, and we just follow suit, Yeah,
and I used to say, because we have no point of reference or no blueprint, but we do. Oftentimes it's just not healthy. So we are going to emulate what we know, what we see. I always say we are going to utilize the tools that we have been given.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if those tools work or not. In your mind, these are the tools that need to be used in this situation. It's only as we begin to do our own self-work where we begin to swap out some tools, because we might be like, you know what, this situation does not require a wrench. You know what I mean? It doesn't require a hammer. So I'm just going to swap this out for something else. One of the things I've been really, really big on lately is that we have somehow forgotten our divinity, our ability to create, right? To create. And when I say that, I mean, I'm noticing a lot of us really thinking that we have to somehow hold on to these old concepts and ways of doing things that don't work for us, and not understanding that we can create something new. We can create something new to pass on to the next generation. I refer back to Kwanzaa when I think about that. Look how widespread Kwanzaa is, but that's a concept that started with one individual's vision, where we said, we're gonna create our own, right? Or we're gonna create something that we can celebrate for as Black people, for ourselves, Black Americans, for ourselves, right? So why can't we take something like that and just it starts with your home. You could start creating new tools in how to deal with these situations. You don't have to lean on those unhealthy patterns. But again, it takes really self-reflection. And self-reflection means that you have to admit when something isn't working.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into that. Let's dig into what isn't working. So because for the, for those out there, and we need your help out there, family. So if you guys, you yourself are in a situation where you're co-parenting and it's not going the way you would like for it to go, or somebody that close to you, tell us, shoot us out there, let us know what are the main challenges that you guys are facing as it relates to co-parenting with the with your with the other person. Shoot it out there, let us know, and that way we can have some things to go by. So some of the main things I would think Hanifa would be like, I hear a lot, the man's not providing for the child.
Mhm.
And that causes a rift
Mhm.
to where, you're not together anymore. And maybe the woman is the main caregiver,
Yeah, because
and
custodial parent.
thank you. Okay. And then and so she's looking for the man to do more. Maybe, provide more financially. Maybe it is to provide more time, in assisting her in rearing the child. And she's just not getting that. Or vice versa, or the opposite, because it does happen both ways. So what is your take on a situation like that as it relates to co-parenting? If somebody came to you as for some advice, oh, Hanifa, they on your shoulder. What am I to do? And what I just described, what advice would you give them as a woman?
Okay, so one of the things that I do realize, I don't what's the word that I use? I don't pacify other women, and I know oftentimes we do that amongst ourselves. So I try to ask the right questions, because a lot of times in these situations, people are telling the story from their own perspectives and from their own feelings. So I would usually ask certain questions, and I'm very specific, like, so then what did you say? And then what happened next, in that situation. Now I will say this: usually men or women who are not showing up, because there's a number of factors there's a number of scenarios that can happen here. For example, if it's just a matter of somebody not spending time, right, with the child, like the way the other person would like, it could be for a number of reasons. One of the things that I've noticed is that if when you are in a relationship and a majority of the child care stuff falls on you in the relationship while you're in it, that's not going to change when you guys split. I'm so sorry, but I just have to say that it's not. And that's what I think happens a lot of times. I see this a lot with women, where it's like it has been like that, and they've tolerated it, right? And I'm not justifying, I'm not saying it's okay. They tolerated it all them years, and then they split, and somehow the expectation now for the other significant other is up here now. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I often be like, but he was in the house and he really wasn't even showing up like that. So now your expectation is what? That's the same person you were married to is the person you're splitting from. Okay, so that's one. The other thing too is what's going on. Like, we cannot allow our expectation of the other person's parenting to block them from spending time with their children or child.
Yes, teach on that.
We can't allow that, because we have, oftentimes you'll see where a man or a woman would say, well, he don't do this way, or she don't do this way, right? And so it's like it's almost like you start to hold the child hostage. And I'm just gonna be real, most of the times it's us.
That's right.
It's us. I mean, I want you, let's have this honest conversation.
Let's have it open.
Yes, let's have the honest conversation, because most of the time in cases, if like most of the times women in these splits end up being the custodial parents. Like in the court system, particularly Black men, they got to fight like hell, okay, for that 50-50 split. Or they have to be going in there with a woman that is like, no, this is what we're looking for. I know when I got divorced, no one made a decision for us around our child. We sat down, we came up with something in writing, we went and got it notarized,
Beautiful.
and we showed up at our divorce hearing.
Beautiful.
With the notarized letter. Because
Beautiful.
we know that if you are busy fighting, then somebody outside of you who don't even know your child, who don't know you, Alkema, who don't know your significant other, can now come in and make these decisions.
Dictating what's going on in your home.
Pretty much. And so we didn't want that. It doesn't mean that like we were feeling each other at the time of all of this. It meant that we had a responsibility to a child that didn't have anything to do with what was happening, right? So of course, we have the expectation ways like, you know, he had her in the same jeans pants. Like you hear petty stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I told him not to do her hair and he still took her to do her hair, especially when there's like other people that enter into the, so there's a number of reasons why that these things could end up being where the person is not, because let's be real. Some men, not all, they just don't have time for the pettiness like us and the emotionalism and all of that other stuff, okay? Women, sometimes we become like almost the gatekeepers of that. And the truth be told, if you have a 2-3-year-old, that man has to come through you to get to that child. Unless he go to the courts and fight and say, and that can take some time. And say, this is what's happening. I need access to my child. And then the court might, you know, but it's more process is what I'm trying to say. So there's a number of reasons why. Now, I want to make sure I'm looking at the comments. Someone said, oh, Tanisha said, yes, but he probably was handling other things like the financial burden. Yes, but what I'm saying is, even so, when they split, he will still do his financial responsibilities as a man. But what I'm saying is like when it comes down to the time spent with the child and so forth, like that was happening while the relationship was going on. You know what I mean? And so now that there's a split and he doesn't have that balance that you were bringing in, you know what I'm saying? Because what she's talking about ways like Tanisha is saying, yeah, because he was handling other stuff. And then the woman, and there's a balance. But remember, when y'all split, that balance is taken out. So now he's still busy working and now he got compensated in his own space, in his own life for what you were doing because now y'all split. So when he's with his child, there's no balance of energy, you know, in the space because now you are no longer there. He's on his own. You get what I'm trying to say? He's on his own now. So yeah, he has to figure out. And I really believe that we need to show each other grace in these situations. You know what I'm saying? Because he might actually need to work on that part of himself. Like, okay, how do I balance out this work thing, right? And really being there and present for my daughter or my son. I think it's showing grace to each other. You know what I mean?
You know what I see a lot? I see often where we as women don't recognize our own power and we work against ourselves in situations like this. When the feelings are raw, especially in the very beginning. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times some of the things that we do in the very onset of a split can affect the entire continuation of how things are going to pan out. But when I say we don't recognize our own power as women, is that I see a lot of women sabotaging what could be a peaceful outcome because of their pain and hurt. And it Lord knows, I'm not trying to take that away. It hurts. You know what I'm saying? You're in a situation with another person and you're thinking that this is going to be your life. You know, your life with this other person. You're building a home, you're building a relationship, you're building a family, and all that comes to a screeching halt. And sometimes, you know, trauma is involved in all that. So the pain of that for any one of us is real, you know. However, I think that we get so caught up in the pain of it all and that we maneuver in that as opposed to feeling that and maneuvering from another place. of you know what I'm saying, coming past that into another place. So now it becomes bitter.
Yeah.
It becomes, I got to get you back. I want you to feel the same way I feel. So if the only thing that I can do to get you back for making me feel this way is to take from you what I know you love the most, which is your child, I'll do that. You know, I'll take you to court, and despite that you might be doing, you know, was already doing the things that you was doing, well, I you know, but I want to slice you even harder. So I'm gonna take you to court and make you stand in front of a judge, and you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna hit your pockets. I'm gonna hit you where it hurts.
I'm gonna tear you down with my tongue, because you know, as ladies, we do that. We, you know, they can't no man stand up against our tongue.
And you know why I think that we need to discuss this more. It's exactly why you just said it. You just said no one goes into their relationships expecting them to be broken. No one goes in and say, okay, you know, I'm gonna go into this, and then on November 3rd, 1995,
right,
we're gonna split. No one does that. I think also too, there's a other part of this conversation that we don't really consider, that there's some of us that are out there and outside of marriage, where people are having I'm gonna say irresponsible, you know, we're being irresponsible sex, and there's a baby that ends up being involved. Let me just be clear, these people barely knew each other, and now they have to co-parent. I think that's the other part that we also need to consider. There's a lot of those situations. Yeah, there's a lot of those situations as well, and I think that some sort of like mediation between the two, you know, needs to happen. You know what I mean? Because these are two strangers. Honestly, if we're being real, they don't really know each other. It could have been something to where they just had a thing. You know, it was a little casual thing, and then a baby came into the picture. And I know people are going to be like, well, they shoulda, woulda, coulda. But the reality is that the children are here now. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And so when we talk about, I always say, you know, I know we like to talk about the ideal. So it's either you're not together, or we need to keep our families together. And that's idealism. The reality is that 60% plus of our homes, do you not know the statistics of how many people are being raised in single parent? We have to have this conversation. We have to. We can't just simply focus on that there's a place for keeping our families together, right? Because we should reach for the ideal, right? And then there's a place for enjoying your singleness. But then there's an in between where there's some children whose psychological wellness we are responsible for.
That's right.
There's an in between where people homes are broken. So what are we doing to address this? We have to talk about it, and we have to be honest, because I often find that when we have these conversations, they're not very honest conversations, and a lot of times
it's utopian.
I have them, and they can be slightly one-sided, because I know oftentimes women are controlling the narrative around this. We are. I am like, there's no anyone that comes in and says otherwise is lying. We are controlling the narrative around this. And just like you said, we have a power. We know our power because we utilize it. Okay? When it benefits us. I'm talking about those of us who are just unhealthy within ourselves. It's not that they're unaware, or that we're unaware of our power. No. It's just how we use it. You know what I'm saying? And also too, as a woman, you have to see the significance of a man's role in your child's life. Because if you don't see it, you will not respect his place in it. And you are going to do everything to get in the way. You are going to operate as if my children are going to be fine without you. Because you don't honor that person's role in that child's life. And oftentimes that's from people, a lot of us who didn't grow up. I didn't grow up with a father. I didn't. A lot of things that I had to learn over the years. I didn't grow up with a father, but I would be damned if I ever fix these two lips to say to my son's father, I don't need him. I proudly say, I need him to raise my son.
Hmm.
That doesn't take anything away from me. It doesn't make me weak as a woman. It doesn't make me needy. None of that. In fact, I say that from a place of strength.
Hmm.
He is absolutely necessary in raising my child.
Ashe. I agree.
And we have to recognize that. Now, men, Alchema, we got to hold our men responsible too. We do, because there are men who didn't grow up with a father either. Okay. And they just don't know. And then there are men who have just given up because they've been given such a difficult time in the court system and this particular, you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to hear someone's process while all the while just still trying to tell them you don't want to give up, because people get tired.
They check out. And a lot of our brothers do that,
Yeah.
they do.
So yeah, so it's no one person to blame per se.
Yeah.
I think everyone involved needs to take responsibility, and I actually think we let the village, the community off, the families of both parties off too easily. I honestly think that, I think there's that family have a part to play.
Oh, you mean extended family?
Yes.
Yes.
I think family has a part to play in that as well. You get what I'm saying? Like your daughter mad at Jason. You know what I'm saying? Jason ain't did nothing to you. You've been liking Jason all this time. Mm-hmm. And now they split all of a sudden. You can't call Jason. Yeah. You can't talk. Jason can't call you if he running late to pick the child up from. Like, come on now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing that we do when we go into these relationships, is that we don't consider the whole. So, we don't consider what's going on his side of the family structure. How did he grow up?
Big one.
You know what I'm saying? How was his relationship with his mother and father, and vice versa? You know what I'm saying? Does he get along with his family members? You know what I'm saying? All those kind of things. And so again, that goes back to personal accountability. And so things don't go our way in the relationship, and we find out later down the road the things that we should have been more insightful about in the beginning. Now it's split. We later, oh my God, he got a jacked up family dynamic, but now here you are with this child, and now you're mad because he's basically carrying on the way that he knows how he was reared in Brick. And so, but you mad, and you pointing the finger at him for him to be the problem, and your entire problem, when you didn't even take the personal accountability and the responsibility of saying, well, I chose this man.
And while we doing all of that,
doing my due diligence.
Yeah, while we're doing all of that, the child is
in the middle,
watching all of this. Not only that, actually feeling like they have to choose a side. And I say this to parents all the time. If you are at war with each other, you are going to force your children in a situation where they have to choose, and they shouldn't have to. Because they are going to figure, I'm going to choose something so I could try to keep the peace. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They're going to choose, and it's not because they love one more than the other. It's especially if that's the custodial parent, like they're spending most of their time with you and so forth. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna say nothing good about my father in front of you. I'm not, you put your children in a position that children shouldn't be in. But I wanted to shift a little bit, like, to just focus on, like, what is co-parenting, right?
Yeah.
Co-parenting is a process. It's a process. I want to zoom in on that word process. Okay. Co, it just means to work together. But co-parenting is a process. It's not something that you guys are gonna get right overnight.
Yeah.
I'm almost 7 years in, and it's still something in the works, right? I still have to constantly, like, self-correct. I still sometimes have to apologize. Okay, because maybe I spoke out of turn, or I jumped to conclusions, or I prejudged, right? I still have to apologize. So it's a process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Because like we said in the beginning, no one went into the relationship saying, we're going to split tomorrow. So you didn't even have time to prepare to now co-parent with this person. Oftentimes, Moansha, when he was when we interviewed Moansha about him and his wife, one of the things that stuck out for me where he was saying, we don't know how to be together, but we especially don't know how to break up. And that has stuck with me for a while, because I'm just like, I get it. Like really allowing something to die. I don't even like die, to let go of something, to transition from it. I feel like there are conversations that could be had, but when we leave with such anger and rage sometimes, right? And sometimes you have two people that could be almost getting along, but the minute they enter that court system, and lawyers get involved, something happens to where it's almost like they feel like they have to be enemies. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to talk about some things that barriers to affect, like to peaceful co-parenting, some of the barriers, and you touched on one, which is unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
Unresolved trauma. I mean, the trauma that wasn't resolved when you was in a relationship, you're gonna take it with you, and it's still going to affect your co-parenting relationship, and also maybe some trauma from that relationship. You may have experienced some hurt. You may have break up because of infidelity. You know what I'm saying? So there's that hurt that's there. Also communication. Focusing on what focusing on what you heard versus what you feel you heard, right? Because now you're filtering what that person is communicating through your filter of pain.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So really trying to hear what the other person is saying without filtering it through the pain that separating that from that person have caused you, right? So that goes into the other barrier, which would be resentment. Okay, resentment, like I resent you for leaving, I resent you for hurting me, and you're still holding on to that resentment. Another one is the need to control.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. The need to control
for women.
I'm gonna tell you right now, like in the beginning, I sure up did, girl. I tried to tell my ex-husband what he should be doing in his house when my son comes over there. I tried, okay? But he wasn't with it, okay? He was not with it. He was just like, you are not going to, he said, you're not going to remote control or something like that along them lines from your house, And so I had to sit with that. It hurt. It hurt because I felt like I should have had a say in what's going on over there. It's control. And so I think once I sat with that, you know what helped me? I looked and say, who is my ex-husband? Is he a good person? The answer was yes. Is he committed to our son? The answer was yes. Okay. Is he committed to the well-being of our child? The answer is yes. Will he do him harm? The answer is no.
Come on.
So I had to say, then what are you doing? Why are you trying to control the situation over there? Right? And that's what helped me to relinquish that need for control and let it go. Because at the end of the day, I'm just like, we are not together.
What was that about, though, Hanifa? What was that control? What was that control about?
I'm glad you asked. Because a lot of women don't want to own this. And I had to go through this with a friend of mine. We always think we're the better parents. And it's because the way we're socialized. We are nurturers. We are, when it comes to the children, women always present themselves or feel like they're the better parent. And so we always try and tell men how to parent. And not only that, we need to understand that men are men and we are women. And our wiring is different. And if our wiring is different, our parenting is going to look different.
That's right. They don't need both.
Right. Exactly. This idea that men are going to parent like us, we gotta let that go.
Right.
Go.
Good teaching. Good
So
teaching.
yes, that to answer your question, it was more so this idea that because I am a woman, I am automatically the better parent. And so because I'm the better parent, I get to tell you who is not the better parent, you know, who's a little bit a notch inferior to me as a parent. I get to tell you what to do. A lot of women don't want to own that. You know, like, let's be real. And that's what I say, when we have the conversations, when you have to keep asking why until you get to the root of it. And
let's unpack, family. Let's unpack.
Exactly. Because you find out a lot of times it's like the way that you think of that person is a problem. Okay. And the way that you perceive yourself in comparison to that person, which is superior as far as parenting, is a problem. Because as long as you see yourself as always the better parent, no matter, you're gonna always find yourself critical and criticizing.
You'll never be able to do nothing right in your eyes.
Never go to, exactly. So that, just to answer your question, that was the issue. But the other one too is another barrier is devaluing the importance of the other person's role. Devaluing the importance of the other person's role. If you don't see the importance of the father of your child or the mother of your child, you are not going to work on the co-parenting relationship. You will do everything in your power to make it seem like you're doing it on your own, right? Because you don't value their role. You don't value their role in your child's life. And the other one is we talked about it earlier, unforgiveness. That's a huge one. One of the things I always say, I don't like to say like pros to co-parenting, but I'm gonna say pros because, like I said, we have over 60% of our homes who are, you know, single parents headed households. So there's a lot of co-parenting situations. I always tell people, like, okay, you're dealing with some stuff, some pain, some hurt. It's very clear you probably need to seek out some help to process that, right? Maybe therapy, counseling, something. Why don't you utilize the time that child goes to their other parent to self-care?
I did.
It's right, to take care of yourself. You want to be hounding the child 24/7, right? Because you think this is a game. You see what I'm saying? But you don't realize that it's detrimental to your own health. Because not only are you stressing and you're in pain, right? And you're dealing with some unresolved issues. Now you constantly have a child, and anyone that's a parent, no, you need a break.
That's right.
You need a break.
Even so with two parents in a household, you need a break.
Thank you. So why not say, okay, you know what? Yes. And this is why I be saying, like, no, I need my son's dad. You're never gonna get me to feel any type of way about it. No, ma'am. You can go on over there for 2 weeks. And I will be right here when you come back, sweetie, because I need that. So my thing to women usually is like, why are you busy trying to play this game? Why don't you use some of this time to your advantage to get the help you need and to self-care the way that you need to? Why not?
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, real talk. I tell a story. I have a few stories about it, but I tell a story all the time about my children they were older in age. They were teenagers both, and they both were like just like giving me hell. Both of them at the same time. And I was like losing my mind because I'm trying to, hold the fort down, and nothing I was doing was working. Yeah. And I realized, I came to a realization that I needed help. So I had reached out. I found this parenting course, 6-week parenting course in my own community.
You told me. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh yes, now I'm going to get all the tools I need to be able to fix these children, these broken children, you know what I'm saying? And I'm going to go in here, they're going to give me what I need to do, and I'm going to fix them up. Yeah. So I was rah. By the time I finished that 6-week course, family, I realized my children were fine. The one who needed fixing was me. I was the one who needed the necessary changing to be able to change the whole trajectory of our whole relationship, our whole family structure. So I was the one. I learned a valuable lesson in that. but I would never have came to that realization and would have been able to change some things up for the better had I not realized, told myself I needed help and understood that I needed help and reached out for it, as opposed to trying to do it all on my own and messing up the whole process along the way. So
and that and I mean I feel like that's with everything in life. Once you start to really like work on self, you really start like there really isn't that many problems. You know what I'm saying? You start to realize that real quickly, like, no, there's not that many problems. There are, this is not that difficult, you know, to navigate. It's really a lot of times it's us carrying our own baggages. And not only that, I'm not saying that conflict doesn't arise. I just also think that a lot of us are not equipped. You know, we don't know conflict resolution. We don't have conflict resolution skills because we really don't. I mean, and this is in life. And so this, if you have an issue around conflict resolution in life, it's going to show up in your co-parenting relationship. I mean, naturally so. You know what I mean? One of the last things too that I realize is a barrier is not wanting to be in the partnership, because co-parenting is a partnership. So where someone is just so happy to be away or free of that person, that but there's still a child that's still keeping them connected. And they're so happy to be like rid of that person that is like, I don't even want to be bothered with you. I don't want to be bothered with you. I don't even want to partner with you. Like, I can't stand you.
Right. Right.
And so like most of the times, it's a lot of times it's not even, there are times where deliberate efforts are made to make it difficult for the other person, but sometimes that person don't even realize what they're doing is the energy that they're giving off, because it's like they've made up in their mind, like, I really don't want to be bothered with you. Like, I hear people say all the time, I don't need to communicate with this person. They just need to take care of their responsibility. And it blows me. It blows me every time. I'm just like, how can you co-parent with no communication? How is that possible?
And then what I think we fail to really understand is how detrimental that is to the well-being of the child, how we are affecting our children and their emotional well-being when we decide to, you know what I'm saying, to not, like you said, not take, you know what I'm saying, take the extra step and do the necessary things we need to do to be civil and cordial. And a lot of times I think a lot of it is ego. A lot of it is ego. You know, you're not gonna tell me, or you know what I'm saying, or you know, you get a push, you got to push back twice as hard, and you know what I'm saying. So as opposed to sitting in and asking, okay, if I just, you know, if I fall on the sword on this one, if I allow, okay, he said some things that hurt my feelings, but you know what I'm saying, okay, but you know, but the bigger picture here is my child needs his father. So so am I going to keep pushing and fighting and scratching and pulling, or am I going to just let the small stuff go and, you know, to focus more on the bigger picture here? And we don't do that enough. We get firm in our stances.
We do it for what we want to.
And we're rigid in it, and we refuse to move. And in the meantime, the baby in the middle hurting like hell.
We do it for what we want to, because the truth be told, Alkema, if there's something in life that you want, right, that is very important to you, we do the work that's necessary in not just obtaining and not just acquiring that thing, but also maintaining it. We do the necessary work. If that means that you have to take a class, okay, if you need to take a conflict resolution class towards improving your co-parenting relationship, then do so. How important is it? How important is it that you and that person figure this out? You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah, and now I want to be clear. It takes two though, because you could have one person who's committed to it and like really, you know, trying to make it work, and then you have another person where they're just making it difficult. It definitely has to be two people on the same page. You know, it really just hurts my heart. It really bothers me that we can't make this solely about the child. You know what I mean? To where, okay, this person may have said something a certain way and it feels, it didn't feel good. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, evaluate it based on their relationship with their child, period. And this is for men and women. Like, is she a good mother or not? And if you're saying no, then define like good. What do you mean she's not? Is she taking care of that child? Because at the end of the day, children love. I know children who are abused by their parents and they still are loyal to them.
Yeah.
Okay. So how you feel about that child's parent is irrelevant to that child.
Right.
That child don't care about that.
That's
All
right.
they see is that this is my mother or this is my father, and I love this person and this person love me.
Right.
That's where we need to build from.
Yeah.
That's where we need to build from. Now, there are situations, Alkema, truth be told, where there was abuse involved.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No doubt.
And for those situations, I have to be like, maybe that's something for the courts, because there's some boundaries that needs to be in place for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, because there are those scenarios as well where the woman is like, I'm not going anywhere to meet this person, or or the man, because we've seen videos where women have run men down in their car with the babies in the back seat. You know what I'm saying? Or making it difficult for a father trying to do a visit with the child. Like that one video that circulated with the young lady demanded, like, she was like, I am going to put her in the car seat. And he's like, no, I have the car seat. She said, let me see the car seat. He opens the door and he shows her the car seat. That still wasn't enough. She still wouldn't hand him his child. Now it's like, well, let me lock her in. I'm just like,
that control.
It's control. I'm like, come on, sis. Like, give that man his child and go. And clearly they were meeting at like a mutual like place for a reason. Right. So like there are those situations, because that's what I say. It's not just always abuse from men. Sometimes it's women, that are destroying property and so forth. And so the men is like, no, you're not coming to my house for my daughter. So you have situations where a man might drop a child off to their parent, and the parent home is like the drop off and pick up spot or whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? So that they don't interact. So there are those cases as well. But even in those cases, you kind of look, you have to walk at it. It's a process. You're gonna have to keep walking at it.
Yeah, and
even important.
Even in them kind of situations, and like moving forward, or people who may not even have children right now, but eventually will. In hearing situations like that, my mind goes to, I mean, if we would only be patient with ourselves, a lot of those situations we would see through early on before we come into a situation where there's children involved. If we were only patient with ourselves and a lot more observant, because I think we don't do that. We just jump right in both feet, and then boom, now we're in the situation, and then boom, now what I'm saying, we call in the law and putting restraining orders. You know what I'm saying? But it steps involved though. But you would see these type of things in a person if you were patient enough to witness them. So
you're talking about like beforehand, before children.
Yeah, beforehand, or even for future references. Because I think we get into this situation where it's like, I'm saying, okay, well, if you get a baby daddy that's crazy, or baby mama that's crazy, well, then you got to do A, B, C, and D. Well, what do we do to get it so we won't be in a predicament where we're in a situation with another person that we had produced another seed with, that we can't even trust with our address? Think about that. You know what I'm saying? You got to see a whole person with another human being that you don't even trust enough for them to have your home address. What's that? That's, again, that personal accountability. We don't do it enough. We so busy pointing the finger at everybody else is the problem. He did it to me. That's why my life is ruined. She ruined my life. That's why I can't get it together. But meanwhile, you ain't never looked at yourself and said, how did I get myself in this situation? And until we start to really have those honest conversations with ourselves, we will just keep repeating the patterns.
And sometimes too, I think that sometimes splits or hurt from the splits actually may become like it like I want to say it awakens like darkness in people sometimes. You get what I'm saying? Like that person could have been a certain way in the relationship, and like that's why they have things like the series snapped, that's a thing. People do like people can lose it in situations to where they're no longer thinking straight. You know what I mean? I know what you're saying, and oftentimes that's the case, but there are situations where it's not, where it's the hurt that has triggered that person to snap to that
I
degree.
push back on that a little, only
Go
because
ahead.
I think the signs are always there. The signs are always there. We just don't pay attention to them. We just don't recognize them because we on a cloud of love, and you know what I'm
Yes, the
saying?
signs are there, but like that, like someone who is manipulative and controlling, right? um in the relationship. So you see like little subtle signs, but then now there's hurt now involved. Okay. Now that person is stalking you. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are no longer together. Now they're and I'm laughing, but it's a serious matter. Like that person is now stalking you, right? And they are doing things like maybe they killed your cat or your dog. Like, no, I'm just saying, like, so now it's like it started off as like you might see the signs, but it might be like little subtle things. But now because of the hurt, it's now escalated to damn near sociopath. You get what I'm saying? So because I think sometimes you're right in what you're saying, but there are signs that we take serious, and then there are signs where we be like, you think there's just flaws in somebody's personality. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Where it's like, yeah, that person just always thought that they knew everything, or they always thought they were right. That's subtle, right? And then now you gotta go meet this person in court, and you looking like, damn, you a liar.
Who is this?
Like a straight up liar. You know what I'm saying? But then, like you said, signs were there, but are we always able to read the signs? Probably not.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see your point in that.
Let's go to the comments.
Yes.
So we have quite a few. Okay. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we are now looking at your comments. If you have any questions or just any comments, we are watching. I see. Okay. Okay, I see. We had addressed Tanisha's question. Kendra says men always want it their way all the time, but they have to remember that they cannot have their cake and eat it too. Men want what they want, but we as women in the world have to stop giving it up and allowing them to manipulate our minds. Even when they say they want to marry you, but never ever treats women with respect, that's just nonsense, right? Okay, so this is the accountability that we were talking about. You want to speak to that, Alkama? Because you touched on that.
Again, I just, the finger pointing. The finger pointing for me, I don't subscribe to that too well. Just only because there's no growth in that. There's no, you really can't, there's no personal growth in pointing the finger at somebody else and making them the subject matter of all the problems in your life. That's just me. And I say that with just recognizing how in my own life and how beneficial it is for me when I can own up to my own shit. When I own up to it, that don't mean I don't like myself, and you know what I'm saying, I look at myself down and nothing like that. That means I'm accepting some things about me that I can critique and be different in order to make a better outcome moving forward. And I cannot do that if somebody else is always the subject and the object of my own mess. So, I don't subscribe. I don't like when I see it. And it's a lot. It's like an epidemic in our community where, nobody wants to take personal accountability for their mess. It's all, men this and men need to start doing that better, and y'all this and y'all and the men do the same thing, and I'm looking at, okay, so when you gonna do what you need to do? So you so focused on what the man need to do, you ain't even figuring, you don't even see what you need to do to be better. So for me, I just don't subscribe to that. Sorry. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah. Tanisha was saying both parties utilize their power when it benefits them, and that's pretty much somewhat what we're saying. It's very true. Both
Mhm.
parties do utilize their power, and the reality is that having power is not a bad thing. How you use
Right.
it is what's important. And I think that again, it goes back to understanding the significance of each other's role in the
Mhm.
person's life. If you value that other person, you're not going to use your power to harm that other person.
Correct.
Because at the end of the day, bringing harm on the other parent of your child is bringing harm on your child.
That's right.
Period.
That's right.
Um, someone says the woman what's her name, Kendra, was saying something like, we as women that know what I'm saying, please pray, because the devil is busy and messing up people's lives, and it is 2021. No more drama from men. We are strong, not we minded, and we will win. Now when you say we will win, you automatically put us against each other,
Mm.
and I cannot advocate for that. um the father of my child, or someone who I allow to come into my space. And the key word here is I allow. And the key word is I allow. Okay, I allowed
Mm.
them to come in my space. I have always had choice, always. So when I have chosen to allow someone in my space, because they didn't show up or act the way that I would have liked, they don't automatically become my enemy. In fact, I perceive them as a teacher. What
Come on.
have I learned?
Come on.
What have I learned from that experience? What have I gained? What can I do better going forward? Like you said, Alchema, you have women who may have had 3 relationships, and all of them, the men pretty much showed up the same. At some point, sis, you got to acknowledge the common denominator here,
Yeah.
and it is you.
Yeah.
So at some point, you have to step back and say, what is going on here that I keep choosing the same person in different bodies,
That's right.
the same energy in different bodies? It's at some point you have to acknowledge that. So when you talk about we're going to win, you automatically, when I read that, I feel like you're automatically setting me against um men, or the man that I had allowed to come in my space. I'm a powerful being, just as powerful as the black man is, right?
Mm.
I'm just as powerful. And so for me to act as if I have no responsibility is to give up that power.
Come
And
on.
I refuse to do that.
Good teaching.
Absolutely not. I always have a choice, right? Um,
And there's no growth in that. It's just not. You find yourself repeating the same patterns over and over and over because you chose not to accept personal responsibility. Yaya said, everybody has their accountability in what they do, but a lot of people like to point fingers, but yet don't see their flaws, and it's in denial. Yeah, yeah, and that's a part of healing. That's a pathway to healing, is to go within. Ain't nobody, what I'm saying, can't nobody do it but you. To
yeah,
go within and recognize within what you're, the beautiful and wonderful, creative, and all those things about yourself, and the yin and the yang, and the opposite. You know what I'm
I've been
saying?
I've been reimagined, like I've been big on like reimagining things right now, because it's like I think a lot of times we can't really see or imagine things being a certain way, because we might be in a space where we have no point of reference, and so it's hard to kind of like imagine. And I'm just like, we have an imagination for a reason. Like, start to think about the ideal way you would like this thing to be, and start working towards that. You know what I'm saying? Like, co-parenting does not have to be a relationship of conflict. It does not have to be. We have to address this, because in the middle of it, our children are being damaged. You think our children are being damaged by single parent home?
Mm,
Just say no. Those co-parenting relationships are also damaging our children.
that's right.
You're putting our children in a position that no child should ever be in, which is to choose one parent over the other and show loyalty to one over the other. No child should ever be put in that position.
Right.
And so we have to really begin to work on these relationships. If that relationship is important to you, forget. If that relationship between your child and their parent is as important to you as it is to that child, you have to do what you will to figure it out.
Yeah.
We talk about how we will do anything for our children, right? We talk about this all the time. I would die for my children. You do anything for your children but get along with their other parent? Anything? If it requires that you guys might have to go to like a therapy, like do that. If the other person is willing, if everyone is willing, then make those efforts. But like you have people that just sit back and fold their arms and they haven't made any efforts. It's just like, I'm mad, I'm gonna put it on that person, they got fixed it. Or the person who left, it's like, well, you the one break up the relationship.
Right.
Like people really feel like that. Well, you the one that left. You thought the grass was green on the other side. Okay. Outside of all of that, can we figure something out for these children?
Yeah.
Can we do that? So like for me, I believe in us. I believe in us. I believe that these things can be fixed.
Yes.
One thing at a time.
Okay.
I believe that they can be fixed through us first working on ourselves, because oftentimes there's that war and that conflict because people are have conflict in themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes people are taking their frustration on around life and family issues out on each other. Okay. My father didn't show up for me and I turned out fine. I don't need you to show up for my child. I don't need you around my child. So like we gotta get rid of that. We got to get rid of it. And we also have to see that, you know what, your father not being there for you was unhealthy.
That's right. I was just about to say that.
Right.
We think we turned out fine. We think we turned out fine because everybody else around us is in the same dynamic. So we don't see, you know what I'm saying? So we think it's fine until we get into another dynamic that, you know what I'm saying, that don't look like our own, and they're doing super fine.
Right. And the damage that was done to you because of your parents constantly fighting. Yeah. Why would you want your child to experience that same thing? For those of us who that's our point of reference, where it's like, well, my father, my mom did not get along. They fought all the time. Why would you want your child to experience that? So I say that to say, because some people will usually push back and be like, well, I'm making the effort. It's him or whatever. Like for me, do what, like try your hardest to try to have at least a semi-peaceful relationship with the father or the mother of your child. Do everything in your effort. Let me tell you something. We bend over backwards. We swallow our words for these jobs that we show up to every day, 9 to 5, around people that don't respect us, don't respect our skills, don't respect our creativity, don't respect our intelligence, okay, our intellectual property, none of that. And you know what? We go there, we shut up, we put up, and we do what we have to do. And we are these jobs 5, 10, 15 years. That's right. Okay. And somehow we're making it work. All right. We can't stand our supervisors and they don't even know we can't stand them.
Right.
Because we do whatever
a happy smile every morning.
Because we do whatever we need to do to maintain and to keep that job. We can apply these same things to these relationships. Everything that you feel about your child's parent, you don't have to express. You don't have to say it. You don't have to say it in front of the child. You don't have to talk about them in front of the children. Because at the end of the day, you have some discipline because you're applying that discipline in other areas of your life.
Right. Good stuff. And I know we run out of time, but I really wanted to touch on like the other person in the relationship, the new person.
Yes, let's touch it. Let's take about 5 minutes to touch it.
Or the you know, the new love, you know, and how that correlates and intertwines with a co-parenting situation. Because I know sometimes as women, we can get into, again, that control thing. That's a big one, Hanifa, that control thing, where now we've decided to take on a new relationship with a man who has a child with another woman, and they may not be on the best of terms. And so here we go. We're going to step on into that and decide that we're gonna lay down some laws and some rules, and this how it's gonna be now, and you know what I'm saying, and how that dynamic plays out, and how that can, if we're not careful, women, we can add to an already hostile situation and make matters even worse. So what do you recommend, Hanifa, in a situation like that?
So what I've learned, and this is from my own personal experience, I had a moment the other day as well with this. Okay, so my ex-husband is married, and he's been married, I want to say maybe he's been with this woman over 5 years now, pretty much. And I think they've probably been married for maybe two, maybe almost going on almost 2 years. uh one of the things I realized in looking at my own experience is like, sometimes we think that one person is having an issue, because there's a third party involved, because somehow they still have either feelings for the other person, and feelings don't have to be love, it could be hate. I just want to make that clear. When we talk about feelings, we like to think it's like, I want this other person. No, hate is still an emotional, like, it's still energy, right? So you whether you love or hate that person, you still have that feeling towards that person. So sometimes we think like that person either want the person back, or that's where it's coming from. And what I learned from my own experience is, it's not, oh, now I'm good, right? I'm in a totally different relationship now. We have a beautiful son together. Like, I've moved on. Both of us have moved on. But what I do realize that comes up sometimes, even to this day, because I had a moment the other day. My ex was doing the passport for my son, and he called me to get some information from me. And in the middle of it, coming to the end of it, he said, I don't know if to put, do you want me to put your name or such and such? Such and such would be the other lady that is tri-parenting with us, which is my son's stepmother. I say we tri-parent, right? And so I said, I don't know that it matters. And then I remembered, I said, but you guys also travel together as a family. So it probably makes more sense to put me down and the emergency. You get what I'm saying? So he was just like, so we've had situations where the school have called her. Okay. And what I realized, it's not so much that whenever I feel a type of way, it's not connected to his dad. It's not connected to my ex. It's connected to my position as mother. Yeah. Sometimes that's what it is. And you have to walk that out with yourself. Like, they will never know that. Right. I would never bring that up. I know, because I know that's a personal thing. Right. You know what I'm saying? And then you know what I go back to? Who is this person? Do she love my child? Will she harm my child? I go through those questions, and usually it's like, absolutely not. My son adores her. She adores him. So I then have to step back and say, girl, that's your ego. You need to check that, because you know better. And I literally, this was like 2 days ago, I just had that moment. And that's why I said co-parenting is a process. Like, I have those moments sometimes where I'd be like, but I'm his mother, right?
Yeah.
I don't show up in their space like that, though. Right. I deal with that within myself. You get what I'm saying? And then I walk through that. So sometimes when another person involved, it's not always that you want the other person back. It's you need to like remind yourself and then them that you're mother. But that's your problem. That's your problem. And then secondly, if you have a person who is coming in to that space, like your co-parenting situation, pay attention to your child. If your child, because children will tell, if that person is not good to them, you will know. If your child loves and respects that person, okay, first of all, you need to be happy that the father of your child has help. And there's a balance that have been brought into that home. You should be excited about that. Okay. Really. Second, like, why, like, when it comes to school stuff, if that person is picking your child up, right, whether you like it or not, that person has a hand in raising your child. Yeah. Because if they're over at their dad's house, who do you think is cooking your child's meals? Yeah. Who do you think is taking your child to the park? Like, you're gonna have to let that go and participate with the process.
Yeah, and it becomes so much more smoother. What stood out for me in that what you just shared
Mhm.
was that you and your ex was even comfortable enough to have that conversation. He was even comfortable enough to call you and be like, "Hey, should I put my wife's name on this or your?" You know what I'm saying? Think about that, family.
Yeah,
Think about how many men can't even do that. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? Without
yeah.
it being a big blow up, knocked out, drag out fight. So that kudos to you, honey, for
Yeah,
it.
it's to the point now we talk
And
around
him.
him. Because you know, like again,
Yeah, I
you
know.
understand the difference. Yeah, you understand the difference in men and women and how
Yeah,
men process things. And so she and I, we know that. And so we be like,
right,
you know, because
right.
you know how men function. And so we'll go around him and be like texting each other like, can you make sure, can you, I'll say, I told him already, but I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah,
Sometimes I'll group text them,
yeah,
all of us on the group text, because
right.
I'm just like, let me include her because I know this brother is about to forget. So let
Yeah,
me involve his wife because I understand balance. I know
yeah.
how that works.
Let me share a situation, a personal situation on my end. It's a little bit different where the situation I had, Larry, me and Larry has been on and off forever. And we he helped raise my children and vice versa. So when he and I first got together, his children were very young. They were like very young, like two and less than one and two, or something to that effect. But anyway, so I spent a lot of time with them growing up, and their mom was not the type of woman that was as let me say this nicely. Um, she didn't like me from the get go. I
Okay.
guess for whatever reasons,
Okay.
but um, I made sure that whenever those children were around me, I edified that woman, whether she understood or knew it or not. And it was not the same on her end, but I ain't had nothing to do with that. That ain't got nothing to do with me. But when them children, oh my God, Lara, your hair is so pretty. Who did your hair? Your mom did that? Oh, she did an awesome job.
Right.
Really good job. And,
Right.
little things like that. They never, ever heard from my mouth any negative, derogatory things about their mother. Why? Because I know, first of all, it's their mother. I don't. No matter what the situation may be with the adults in the unit, that's still a mother that they love, and so I'm not going to ever step in between that and may have them feel some kind of way. So now they have to, they looking at me some kind of way because they know I don't like or get along with their mother. You know what I'm saying? So no, I always set the stage where they were comfortable with, you know what I'm saying? You ain't gotta hold nothing back from me. They would share little stories and and I always, made sure that that friction was not there from my end, and so as the other woman, in a lot of the instances he kept me out of, and that was probably for the best. He just did it
Yeah.
on his
Yeah.
end, and like, I think that was his way of protecting me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
whenever the situation arose where them children were in my care, they didn't have to there I didn't sacrifice their emotions
Mm-hmm.
when it came
Mm-hmm.
to that kind of thing.
It,
I
it,
made sure
yeah,
they were comfortable.
because it really should, it doesn't have to be that way. Like, listen, when Mother's Day come, I just send this woman a thank you text all the time and
Mhm.
wishing her Mother's Day. I thank her for being a second mom to my child. You understand what I'm saying? Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, like, you're on this team, and not only that, if like there is an issue, all of us are going to be held responsible. So I just
Yeah,
want you to know that you are on this team. So when we have a problem, we have a problem.
that's
All right.
right.
When it comes to the parenting piece, you get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's possible. And you know what plays a big part, and I say this as a woman, when you begin to walk on yourself around sisterhood and understanding that women don't always have to be in conflict with each other. because a lot of us are socialized and we grew up like that, where we really just like we watch the women around us gossip about each other and do, so we have this idea that women have to be in competition and conflict.
Yeah,
But
that's a
what you
big thing.
yeah,
That's a
it's
big
it's
thing.
a huge thing, and that
Yeah,
trickles over into our mixed family situation. It
yeah,
happened. So for me, once I've already worked through that myself, it makes it a little bit easier to try parent with,
right.
with
That
this
does
other
work.
woman. It really does, because how you see woman, like, for me, that's not just my ex's wife. That's not just
Right,
my son's stepmother. That's my
right.
sister.
Yes, good
This is
to
another black woman we're talking about. That is my sister. And if she needs help with something, I am available. Like that,
good.
you get what I'm saying? So
As
it
it
doesn't have
should
to
be.
be, it doesn't have to be
We have
conflict.
this thing where the new woman is supposed to automatically not like the old woman. And I'm like, where's this coming from? Why do we subscribe to that so
Because we
comfortably?
subscribe to it outside of our relationships. We have this idea that I mean, I'll come out, we're honest, we know that, women not getting along. This isn't even in mixed families, just outside of that in itself, where women just think that they have to compete, where we act like there's not space for all of us,
Right.
right? Where we covet each other's talents and gifts, oh, I'm mad at you because you have something that I want, or you do something better than I do, or whatever. Like there's so many things that go into that. And so for me to, even if I'm presenting myself as someone in consciousness, shame
Right.
on me to be in
Right.
conflict with another black woman simply because they were my ex.
Come on.
That is
That's,
a contradiction.
that's
And the same goes for the co-parenting. You out here talking about black power
hmm.
and black family and black lives matter and all of this stuff,
Hmm.
and you are fighting a black man down who is the father of your child, or you are constantly at conflict with a black woman who is the mother of your child,
Hmm.
you're gonna have to figure that out. You can't be putting all this work and effort into the black community and black consciousness and all of that, and you don't even give 1 ounce of your energy towards working towards that co-parent relationship. That's
Real.
contradictory.
That's it.
So
That's
it's possible. We can do it just like we do everything else, Alkema. We just need to apply the time, the patience,
yeah.
and the grace in these situations, and they could be worked out. It could take a while, yes, but if you are determined to see this thing through, it can work out. But it takes two. It does take two.
Right. I would just say do something different. Do something. If what you've been doing all this time is keep getting the same results over and over. You're still mad, you're still bitter, you're still in conflict, you still ain't getting along. You know what I'm saying? Well, try something different. You try something different. Don't wait on the other person. Don't try to force their hand to be different and all that kind of wait for them to do something different. You do something. You'll be the bigger person.
That's a
Do
word.
something different than what you've been doing.
Word.
So if
Yes.
it means that they coming, they calling you, and the first thing come out of their mouth is something slick and sly, and you would normally respond with something slick and sly, don't do that next time. You know what I'm saying? Try exercise your self control and decide that, you know what, yeah, that hurt. Whatever they just said hurt me to the core. But I ain't even gonna respond to that. I'm gonna be the bigger person, and you know what I'm saying. I'm gonna take the conversation in another direction. You'll be the change you wish to see.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ashe.
So
Ashe. Well,
soliloquy is coming up. That's
yeah,
coming up. Our next live
on
Sunday.
Sunday at
So
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Join us for that conversation. It's going to be a really nice conversation, family. And we're going to be selling some of our wares along with two other powerful sisters. And we're going to be talking about that, the power of sisterhood and
Yes.
connectivity and collective working together as women, and the power that we can exude when we do that. So that's Sunday, 3 p.m. So look out for the live stream because we'll be going there. That'll be our next live.
All right. Until
Okay,
next
family.
time, guys. If you enjoyed what you heard today, make sure you share the live. If you think someone could benefit from it, the video is going to be on the Empower Our page. feel free to share and follow if you haven't follow if you're not following the Empower Hour page for all the notifications. Whenever we go live off of that page, you will be notified. And thank you guys for those of you guys that are always here with us. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. Trust me. And you give us feedback and you have conversation with us. We appreciate you. We just, pray that you keep coming.
Yeah.
And if you have ideas of topics that you want maybe us to touch on, send us a message on the Empower Our page because people do message us. So
Yep.
send a message just saying like, hey, can you guys maybe touch on this or bring a guest on to discuss this? We're open, guys.
Thank you, James. James said, great show. Darius is on. JJ, William, Kyrie, my son, Yaya. All you guys, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Kendra, yep, sharing your comments with us. Take care of each other, family. Until next time. Peace.